Called in order. This is a meeting of the Littlestown Area School Board Directors. This is a meeting of the board taking place in public in accordance with Sunshine Act. District residents who wish to address the board are required to sign up by public comment at least 5 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Public participation will only occur during the designated public comment portion of the agenda. Disruptions, interruptions, outbursts, or disorderly conduct of any kind will not be tolerated. By attending and or commenting publicly in this meeting, you are consenting to the district recording, retention, and future viewing of this meeting. This meeting is also being live streamed as a convenience to the public. An event of live stream fails or cannot be transmitted for any reason, the in-person meeting will continue without interruption. Tom, please call.
Donna Bayless.
Here.
Nick Lovell.
Here.
Stephen Yerger.
Here,
Jeannie Ewing.
Here.
we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We now recognize members of the public who have signed up to provide comment as stipulated in policy 903. When your name is called, please approach the podium and state your name, confirm you are a resident or a taxpayer in the district, and topic of discussion for the record. Public comment is limited to the matters of the district business only. Comments that are not relevant to district business or maybe before the board will be suspended. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer and not individual board members or administrators, and comments will be limited to 5 minutes or less. The privilege to speak may be interrupted, revoked, or a recess of the meeting may be called by the chair if the speaker fails to adhere to board policy or does not observe reasonable decorum or orderly conduct. Thank you. Suzanne Johnson.
My name is Suzanne Johnson, and as a district parent and taxpayer, I've repeatedly shared my concerns about this district's spending and budgeting practices. Even with a 3% tax increase, its estimated budget deficit for next year would range from 3.4 million as shared last month's meeting to $2.3 million was the figure shared last week when they adjusted for revenue assumptions without But to move the needle, they did all this, they adjusted revenue assumptions, but to really move the needle, you need to cut spending. These deficit estimates are significantly larger than surrounding districts, even though our budget is much smaller. This isn't normal and serious course correction is needed. How did we get here? For the last 4 budget cycles, we've had 4 different superintendents with the failure of the superintendent searches. Further, conservative worst-case projections have been used that led to estimated deficits when creating the budget that turned into surpluses after the budget year ended. Last year, we had a one-time source of revenue from a land sale, and we had an extra $6 million in our assigned fund for the building project that was contributing to significantly higher interest earnings than we could expect in future years. But now that's gone. And I don't think we're going to finish any sales, land sales next year. So we need to move to efficient, balanced budgets, i.e., let's do the right things, but do them right. Minimize your resources to achieve goals within your available funding. This requires being solution-oriented. Examine each budget component and ask, why are we doing this? What metrics support this, and how could this be done better? For example, 2 years ago in my public comments on May 20th, 2024, I suggested specific items to eliminate or delay to reduce an estimated nearly $250,000. Of course, that was ignored. I suggested not spending $140,000 on a new bus and not giving the administration new contracts a year before they expired, which cost us an additional $100,000 that year, along with the extending the interim superintendent's contract for no reason. The new bus was completely unnecessary, just as I said, because the business office did a cost benefit analysis, something that I and others suggested, which made it so we contracted out all of our transportation and sold off most of the fleet. So that's $250,000 that we didn't even need to spend that year. To make a real dent in the deficit this year, how about for every additional dollar of revenue generated from asking the taxpayers to pay more taxes, you cut $2 from your operating expenses. So if you want the taxpayers to provide an additional $500,000 from a 3% tax increase, how about the district also step up and cut $1 million from your spending? While spending from the capital reserves impacts our overall financial health, delaying one-time projects such as the baseball and softball fields doesn't reduce our projected deficit, which results from our annual operating expenses, not one-time expenses. Over 6% of this budget, our operating budget, goes to salary and benefits. Instead of waiting for retirements or other vacancies to assess whether positions could be eliminated, leadership must make these tough assessments with each budget. And rather than cutting classroom positions that could be detrimental to our students and our education goals, we must look for operational efficiencies. We've already asked our teachers to do more with less. The administration and district office must do more with less. We are way too top heavy in this division. In this district. Eliminating or consolidating business office positions and Act 93 administration, i.e. those with the highest salaries, would have an immediate, significant impact on reducing annual operating expenses. Another thing to consider, I asked the assistant superintendent about the district's nursing needs and whether CNAs could be used instead of LPNs to assist our 2 RNs so that we could expand our hiring pool and perhaps reduce costs. This is what I'm talking about when I say you need specific suggestions that are solution-oriented and looking at how we can do things better.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else? Was that it? No. Good evening, everyone, and this is a budget session. This is like every other school district across the Commonwealth. They're dealing with budgetary issues and tough decisions that have to be made. The board that's here tonight, the Finance Committee that is working on this to give a recommendation to the full board very soon, because we are almost in the middle of May. We want you all to be able to do your due diligence. And even though it was kind of a last minute type thing, the more I thought about it and reflected on where we're at, I thought it might be helpful if Judy, Tom, and I got a little support from our leadership team. And again, I appreciate all of you staying on short notice today. I really appreciate that. But as we get into the details and you all do your due diligence up here at the table, if there are some things that Tom, Judy, or I cannot answer, we have members of the team here that might be able to give a little more specific information and help you all along the way as you understand the justification for the things that are requested within the budget and so on. So we're getting to that point where we've got to make some pretty significant decisions, and we appreciate everything that the board committee here is doing. A big thank you to all of you for sticking around today. I am going to suggest that this kind of be our agenda. If Mr. Showbaker has any updates since the last time that we met, maybe share a little bit of those issues. Judy, if you would happen to have anything. And then I think we need to move to athletics first. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. This is senior signing night. Am I right?
Correct.
How many seniors we have going to play in college?
We have 7 committed to play. It's various sports at MTA.
Yes, which is fantastic. So I'm going to ask the Steve, if you and your committee could focus on any questions related to athletics first so that we can get Jeff out of here to do what he has to do with that wonderful program that's a little bit later on this evening. I think it's 6 o'clock. Am I right? Yeah. All right. So we'll go with that. And I think that's pretty much our agenda tonight, unless anyone else has any other ideas or things that we ought to do. Steve, you're supportive of that? Very good.
Thank you. Tom, anything update wise since the last time that we met? I know it was just a short time ago.
So we'll just refresh the committee of where kind of we left off from the last meeting. So there were several tasks, I guess, from the committee of what we wanted to address. We had scenarios between 0%, 1%, 2%, and 3% on a tax increase. We saw kind of what those impacts were at the district. We heard from Dr. Fiaski, we heard from Jeff, and we heard from Laura on what their requests were within their budgetary items. So in addition to the autism class making it forward, we did have some suggestions on the athletics. So we have the lacrosse co-op. We want to get a final say on that. The high jump pit and girls wrestling. What the impact here is the district with that, and if we're in support of adding that to next year's budget. Other than that, that's just kind of the questions open-ended. Other than that, we'll figure out what questions the board has, what we can answer to be able to supply the full board with a full presentation Monday night.
And Mr. Showbaker, maybe just a quick review of the timeline here. I know in June, obviously, we have to have a final decision. This preliminary decision really doesn't mean a whole lot, but I think traditionally Littlestown has tried to get that recommendation pretty close to where you're going to be in June, I believe.
Correct. So yeah, we have historically tried to keep it as close to what we would have approval in June, minor any changes that happen within that month of June. So we have on Monday night, I believe it's the 18th, we will have a vote session where I'll present the proposed budget to the full board. And they'll either approve or deny that. If it would happen to be denied, we would have to have a subsequent meeting to have something that would be approved. And then that would have to then trigger a 30-day wait period for the public to view that. So if we don't have something approved, just want to make it aware that we would have to do a secondary meeting post our agenda, our June vote session to accommodate that 30-day window. From that, we have a June FPS to do any of those minor movements, to present again at the work session in June, to then have final approval for the 26-27 budget. So we're at the crunch time here for budget approval.
So we're not going to do the different scenarios. We're going to do one to the full board.
I would
Last
recommend,
year we did scenarios.
I would say no more than 2. We can, 1 to 2 would be my recommendation to present to the full board. So if we're between 2, we could do both. If there's a sole one option, then yes, that would be what we would look for to present.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for staying and making information available to us. We really appreciate that very much. So I guess we should move on into the recommendation for talking about the athletics.
Questions?
Yeah, so does anybody have any questions? Donna?
Donna hasn't been here, so maybe bring her up to par.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could bring me up to par. I did watch the meetings, although it's better to be in them obviously than watch them. But I do have a lot of questions, but if you can bring me up to speed in just a couple minutes, that would be.
Athletics. first.
So last meeting, the request was to look more in depth at athletics. Basically, the 3 requests was to add a cooperative for lacrosse, both boys and girls, with Gettysburg Area School District. With that comes a cost. It's a prorated per athlete cost. Jeff, if you have that handy, you can, I don't have about $7,500 for both boys and girls, as well as girls wrestling program. We had an open mat that was well attended. There's a high interest and it's a growing sport. Jeff, you can jump in if I say anything wrong. And we're looking at starting that program here, as well as many other districts that have to kind of facilitate that here at the district. And the last was our outdated high jump pit that is starting to get end of life. It's starting to sink in the middle. A lot of dust and debris is falling out when kids jump on it. So we're looking to replace that from a safety and health standpoint. On that. Those are the 3. That was 12,000, I believe, yes.
Donna, when students land in the pit, it takes 3 people to try to pull them out. It's so soft in the middle of the pit.
So those were the 3 things, as well as Jeff updated about the athletic project. mostly surrounding the scoreboards. That was part of the athletic project, because that's the baseball and softball renovation. Being facilitated through Mrs. McCall and her family on some areas. Some areas are being paused, like I presented on. The scoreboards are still up for debate, and that was the discussion through athletics.
Do we have a cost on the girls wrestling?
Approximately $10,000.
Approximately.
Approximately.
Approximately works for
It
me.
might be a little less depending upon the coach, what we're looking at, and ongoing costs. I'd say 10, 5, 11 to start because of uniforms. We have to get singlets for the girls, but then the cost may drop a little bit, but that may get offset as the coach gets more experience. So, you're in that ballpark.
And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, we weren't looking at least for the first year of having dual meets with other schools. It would be more the coach, the uniforms, and the cost to get into various tournaments along the way where we wouldn't have to have an entire team. But these girls could compete individually, all over central Pennsylvania, I'm sure.
That's exactly correct. The only cost that you didn't mention was transportation. So you have registration costs to get into the tournament, we'd have transportation costs to get there. And what most school districts who have started a girls lacrosse program have seen is if you get in these individual tournaments, then it just sort of grows. The interest grows, and then before you know it, you might get to actually having dual meets and have enough girls to fill at least 6 weight classes as you go through. All of those are question marks. We have to see who comes out, what weight class they are, how that all goes. But to Dr. Moyer's point, we're probably looking at ornaments to start this year.
And when I reviewed the videos of the 2 meetings, there was some discussion about the number of students we have that were interested in lacrosse and wrestling, and that we didn't necessarily have enough for a whole team.
Well, just for lacrosse, we don't have enough, no.
Okay,
You need at least, I would say 16 to 17 boys to play lacrosse, to have a team. We don't have that. And we don't have a feeder program in the area that we can even feed that many kids into. And lacrosse is not a sport where you're just gonna pick up the stick and start. You need to start young and progress up. For girls lacrosse, we only have 3 that I'm aware of. For boys lacrosse right now, when I talk to Mr. Bell, who is spearheading that piece, he says there's about 5 students. Now, I haven't done any formal data with our student body to see how many we have, but I think we're in the ballpark there. Now, with girls wrestling, I have got formal data. I put surveys out to all existing 6th through 11th graders, and we had 27 girls respond that they were interested. 12 of which showed up at an open mat that we held on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, 2 of which were on vacation because of that. So we have 14 girls who are very interested in doing girls wrestling next year.
okay, so you're gonna help me out with this, all right?
Yes.
So you have 8 boys and girls total that are very much interested in lacrosse.
That's correct.
And you want to start lacrosse as
No, it would be
Co-op.
it's a co-op.
So what would happen?
So most of the money would be for transportation.
Boys would go to Gettysburg and play under with the Gettysburg team, the same with 3 girls. They would go up there, and that's where the cost of, I just pulled it up here. I got $7,853. That, because they do Gettysburg does a cost share. So basically, the athletic director gave me his budget, which is in the presentation, divided it by the number of students, and that would be our
Okay.
cost to send our kids up there.
All
Yeah,
right, okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
So they want us to pay what
Co-op.
our students' portion would be, like prorated for the transportation, for the coach, for all of the different component, the uniforms, all the different components of the program. They want us to pay
Okay,
a portion of that per student per season.
Any thoughts about any of that?
I do. Do you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, well, we kind of talked about it last week, so we'll listen to what you have to say.
Well, I mean, I'm very pro sports. I think sports is a very positive portion of students learning. from K all the way to 12th grade. The challenges, and I know, and I know it's a positive thing, and I know it actually, sports actually will help keep a kid in school that is more likely without sports to possibly drop out. I mean, this, you know, it can really go bad. But here's the challenge. So I would definitely support sports for any kid as long as best we can, okay? But here's the challenge. The challenge is we're point whatever million, or I guess it 2.8, you got different scenarios here, 2.8, 2.6, 2.4. We are several million in the deficit for the July 1st budget. Now, if I'm wrong, because I missed 2 meetings because I had a family death, please correct me. But with that much money in the deficit to begin with, I don't know how we're gonna do it. I mean, you want to add a ball pit, you want to add 2 different sports. There's a lot of things going on here. Transportation went up $200,000, I'm told. So, you know, until we can really get a handle on the numbers, just my personal opinion, I think it's going to be really hard to add anything to the budget when we're already at such a deficit. That's just my opinion. If we can get a better handle on things, I'd throw sports in the mix before I, you know, put anything else in. But and here's the other thing. You're going to be sorry you asked me, but now you did, so I'm going to tell you. Here's the other thing. Our main job here, because this is public education, our main job here is to educate these kids. That's supposed to be our most important focus, is to educate them so that when they graduate, they can leave here and know how to read and write in such a manner and to such a level that they'll be able to progress themselves through life, you know, really support themselves through life. Sports is, and sports can also help them excel in life, absolutely. But unfortunately, because it's public education, we have to focus on academics first and sports second. It's not what I like, but it's truly what we're supposed to do. So with that in mind, I mean, it's going to be hard.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Mr. Alasakis, Mr. Shoemaker gave us, I think, a tentative answer on this, but I want to just confirm. What uniforms are up in next year's uniform cycle for replacement?
Second.
I thought you asked that at the last meeting. They said football.
You got that right here.
I just said Tom gave a tentative answer last time.
Oh,
I'd like
okay.
to get a confirmation from Mr. Alasakis.
Next year's uniforms will be basketball, junior high, approximately 4,000 is in the budget. Junior high cheerleading approximately 2,000, and football junior high for approximately 10,000. Oh, and then I'm sorry, then on the bottom, wrestling, high school, varsity and junior high, 8,000 and 3,000 for a total of $27,000 in uniforms next year.
27,000.
So do we inspect them to make sure they need to be replaced, or we're just doing a 5-year cycle?
Okay, so the reason my understanding is we've done a 5-year cycle is because if, for example, wrestling uses their uniforms and they wear out quicker than junior high basketball, and we just purchased junior high basketball next year along with cheerleading, then we're going to defer that 11,000 to another year, and then what we're going to have is a year where we have $38,000 in uniforms versus $15,000 in uniforms. This stabilizes our budget in the sense that we always have that $22,000 to $26,000 range of money for uniforms. It's like a standing item in the budget that we know we're going to roll. We're not going to hit these roller coasters of when something wears out, and that's why this was developed.
For me, the biggest item that I think should be a priority from the standpoint of athletics is the high jump pit. I think that we saw by the pictures last week that that's in pretty dire shape. Kids having to jump on that and stuff going in their eyes. And from a safety standpoint, I think we need to address that. Like I said last week, I think that not, I think that we should take a 1 year pause on the uniform cycle. So there would be no uniforms bought this year, and then next year we pick up where we left off. With this year, we delay everything a year to make some room in the budget for that and purchase the high jump pit.
You mean
It's one of-
revisit co-op for lacrosse and wrestling next year?
Like I said last week, I was sort of in agreement with the statement of I think it's a difficult situation to look at budget adds when the projections that we've seen.
Do you have any other thoughts? Okay, well, for the sake of time, how do you all feel about Nick's recommendation? And do you have any comments on that?
On the uniform pause for a year and the co-op pause for a year? I mean, if that's what everybody else wants to do, I agree.
Well, I'm here for these two. Anna?
Well, we don't even have a co-op lacrosse yet, right?
She's saying, instead of doing it this year, we revisit it next year.
I mean, we can always bring it back up for discussion next year.
Yeah.
But you gotta have a funding source. You know, I mean, you can keep bringing these things back to the table, but if we don't have a funding source or an identified funding source for them, it's gonna be a challenge.
Well, that's one of the things we said last week, is that when something's brought to us, tell us how you are gonna pay for it.
Okay, so
Not just leave it up to the board to figure out how to pay for everything.
Okay, so Nick, you're saying delay the uniform cycle for 1 year and then use that money to purchase the pit? Is that what you said? Okay. And the pit costs,
Oh,
pit costs 12.
yeah,
Guess you could do that.
okay, then. I guess so.
Sure.
Interesting.
Any more questions for our athletic director? Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening and congratulations to all the seniors that are heading to college to play sports.
I just lost it.
All right.
I do have one more question for Jeff, if you don't mind. Have there been any booster clubs or anyone for either of these two sports that have offered any type of funding to try to get this going?
Yeah, what going?
The
also wrestling.
lacrosse or wrestling?
No, nobody's, no,
Does our wrestling have a booster?
Anybody, don't want to see where the board was, but things before we, I try not to put the cart in front of the horse. I want to make sure we got your blessing from what you guys want to do. And then from there, I'll move on whatever the board,
Mhm.
whatever serves the board the best. I have not reached out to any, like, we don't have a booster club for lacrosse, obviously, and
Right.
wrestling is something new, and we would have to build that, because I'm not sure that boys wrestling would want to throw money right at girls wrestling right off that one. The girls didn't help support that, so there's those pieces you have to work.
Because I mean, the thing about it is, I don't think anybody here is against the concept of having the programs. If we had limited resources, we would love to do above and beyond. It's just the working with the resources that we have. And if we would be able to identify any booster groups, or whether it might be a foundation, or if we would be able to secure any sort of outside funding to pilot like a co-op or something of that nature, or a wrestling program, I think the board would certainly be open to that. So for consideration. So I don't know if you want to look into that possibly for next month or for the future, but just throwing that out there.
Anybody else have any other comments for Jeff before he leaves?
Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Did you have, Dr. Moyer, a way that you wanted to go down?
I was going to leave it up to Mr. Yerger as the chair. I don't have a strong preference. I know you have a lot of information that's been shared with you all, so I just like to generally open it up to you all for any questions, and we'll try to get the person that's best suited to answer your questions, give you the detail that you need to support.
Yeah, the transportation bus route changes. If anybody wants to bring Don up to on that. The 200,000, that was, they want to change the number of students on the buses rather than something that we had to do.
Yeah, so last time I presented on behalf of Laura, so the request was to add essentially an in-town route to reduce the length of time that is on the bus, reducing disciplinary issues and ride time, as well as helping facilitate the number of students on a given bus. So we had an update on what the ideal, I don't have that off the top of my head. Should have it here somewhere.
Numbers for the seats, students that.
Yes, actually,
I got that. Thank you.
I was gonna say, I have it, still have her stuff in here. So that was essentially, we also have increased services for special needs routes. We have several outplaced students who have the transportation, and then we have an increased Amish population that have non-pubs that require additional vehicle. We're not sure yet if it's going to be a van or a minibus. We're still working out the logistics on that.
Do they just pay us for to transport? Is that what it is?
They don't pay for transportation on that.
We pay.
We have to pay as a district for non-public transportation. The state does reimburse us for some of that. But yes, they're within our boundaries, within 10 miles outside of our boundaries, we do have to transport those students.
We taking them to Lancaster?
No, they have to be 10 miles outside, just 10 miles outside of Lancaster is the
I
max.
don't know where they're
distance.
school.
We have several within our boundary.
How many students do we have in that category roughly?
That I don't think we had. We currently have 13 routes, but that also includes all the other non-pub routing as well. I don't have the student count for non-pubs.
So the 200,000 includes all of that, the additional in-town route plus covering the,
Increase special needs, increase non-pub, and then the annual percentage increase per contract.
do you know how much that is?
It's no less than 2.5%, no more than 4.5%, depending on what the, how do they put it? Essentially, the cost of living adjustment would be for transportation. So it cannot exceed 4.5, but it can't be below 2.5, depending on which one. So the cost of living adjustment would be in between that. That's what we would pick.
So how do you know what students are gonna need what bus routes to know to add an in-town one? When,
So regular routes, we get that through enrollment documentation, and parents elect.
they've already done that for next year?
We start that as soon as a parent wants to do that. For kindergarten, they start anytime of registration. So all kindergarten coming in. So upon registration or anything, they can submit those changes.
Is there a closing date for that information, or is it constantly being fed into the system?
It's always being updated. The beginning of the year is the only exception. We do cut it off at a certain point. So Laura can have the route set, and then she works through those for about 2 weeks, and then she reopens it back up to be integrated in. So there's kind of like a 2-week window where there's no really adjustments while she works out the routes and makes sure everything works good. And then she starts adding kids back in.
And I'm taking that's in the summer.
And then the same thing of kids with withdrawal, they come off those and goes through. Yes. But that's all, yes, that's all during her summer planning work for the upcoming school year to get that vetted out.
The special ed placements,
Mhm.
they're like students at other districts and things like that.
They could be at a facility, they could be at a district. It's whatever the IEP and Carolyn and her team designate as part of that.
And do we try to find like transportation efficiencies with that to try to make sure that if we're sending students to the same place, that they're riding together and that things are matching up.
Yeah, so if their students are placed at the same facility, yes, they will ride the same van and such. We do have some types of, if we go to certain facilities, we will share some ride share services with other districts. That depends if they're open to it, if they're gonna want to share those costs. I believe we had one with Hanover recently. We have some, Laura works out with their transportation director, and same with Carolyn with their special ed director for transportation sharing.
Is it just for the transportation of special ed or actually special ed placements?
No, just the transportation to get them to and from their
Gotcha.
placements. The placement cost is a separate.
Right, okay.
Since we're on special education, pupil personnel, why don't we, let's focus on that. Any questions related to pupil personnel services while we've got Carolyn here?
Dr. Fiaski, I asked you in the back, but just for the edification of everybody. We saw the sign language interpreter amount. It's about $275,000. It said for 360 days a year total. Can you explain what those services are and why we're providing those to students?
Their students are in the deaf and hard of hearing classes who each have a interpreter with them, personal interpreter that goes with them to all their classes. So that's a total for all three, for all of them, not just one.
So they have a full-time interpreter, full-time staff member with them
Correct.
all day, every day. And what, you said that there were 3 different districts that we're sending those to?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Greenboro, Red Lion, and here.
Those are IU classes.
Correct, that's the IU works with the deaf and hard of hearing.
And
Carolyn, correct me if I'm wrong, they also have extended school year services over the summer?
They do if they qualify, so if they do qualify for, yes,
Uh,
the interpreter would be with them then too also.
And our students do qualify, I think, unless I'm wrong about that.
One does.
Okay,
One.
okay.
and the per diem, the daily rate for those services is $765 per day for the sign language interpreters.
So how many sign language interpreters do we have?
Three.
Three. And this is how many students with that?
Three.
Three. So it's one-on-one. Okay.
And that's why many of the charter schools and cyber charters, and even the bricks and mortar charters, they'll say, no, thank you. The true public school, traditional public school, you can handle those students for their free public education that they advertise. Anything else for pupil personnel?
One of these days, you'll get Carolyn's department right. Pupil services. I'm just kidding.
It's a big umbrella.
It works, Hal. It
Yeah.
worked.
That has a comment.
Well, as we have found out with most things special ed, it doesn't seem like we have much option.
Right.
In terms of their transportation. So it seems like it's either state mandated or it's IEP mandated. And there are things that we have to stay in legal compliance with. What I do think that the one area, because we were talking about transportation, that we do
Wait, Donna has a comment for Carol.
about pupil services.
You can finish.
Okay.
She's moving on to something different.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Back to transportation.
Oh,
So she can,
can I ask her one question?
Sure.
Then maybe she can leave if she wants to. Sorry.
Are we gonna like dismiss them one by one? And standing?
Stay together.
Do you know if we had any additional students identified for private placement for this coming year? Anything more than we had last year?
When you say private placement, can you just elaborate a little bit?
Sure.
I think you mean off campus.
Yeah, so private placement or placement that's outside of, like, I guess our campus or another, well, I guess we'd still, even if it was like Red Lion or Spring Grove, we're paying for those, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
We pay for everything, everything.
So off campus.
Off campus, I think our emotional support students, some of our needs in that area. higher needs students.
For this coming year?
Oh, for this, I don't, no, I don't, not for this, not for the 26, 27. I just go by my enrollment right now.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm just going by what I have right now. So as people move in, I don't know what's coming in. So for 26, 27, I can't say I'm gonna have 5 more. Right now, I don't know, other than autism. Which we're trying to keep here.
okay, then let me ask you, okay, thank you, but let me ask you this, so now I got another question for you, sorry. So don't kind of trying to figure out how to ask it in my head. So basically, is there a time limit that you kind of shoot for to be able to have the IEPs done in time so that you can kind of plan what services you're gonna need for
Well, I-
those students for the next coming year?
They have a team,
Uh-huh.
IEPs run year round. So like not all the IEPs are done June 1st.
Right,
They're done any time of the year. So it's hard to say. Unless, if I have a student going somewhere. And they're in a placement and they're doing well based off their goals. And they don't need that service anymore, then we come back home. So it's kind of, I have to wait till, and like next week I have end of the year meetings for lots of students. So we talk about how they're doing, they making their goals. Do they still need to be where they're at? Can we support them in the district? So that's a continuous, that's an ongoing. meeting that we
Right.
have.
right, I get that,
So-
but I just thought that you might have the IEPs done by like close to the end of the year or maybe slightly after the end of the year.
I just.
In order to
Right.
plan, for your,
What I know right now.
okay.
Is it do we have that happen a lot where someone comes back, they've met their goals and they're doing fine? Does that happen a lot?
Enough, enough, yeah.
It's a lot.
You know, the students will, like, once they meet their goals, like, for example, meeting last week, the students meeting their goal, they're coming back.
Yep.
So that's great. That's one meeting, I have like 20 more coming up, right? So,
So I can't recall how full you said the second autism room is at right now.
well,
It's all 8.
there's 6. And
So
we
we
didn't-
could potentially have 2 from another school district.
We'll
fill.
have our own, because we have more students, we need to go out and observe pre-K students to see, yes. We currently have 6.
We hope we don't have more. We hope they'll be fine, but we could potentially have 2 come from another.
Potentially, but I.
Dr. Fiaski, so this Schedule A, is that like our LIU services?
Yes.
Okay. And they're pretty expensive.
We changed their pricing
Yeah,
this year.
yeah, they're pretty expensive.
Transition
Transition
50,000.
programs, we have a lot of high school in transition.
What does that mean, transition
Well,
program?
for example, last year, a student came and talked about Project Search.
Mhm.
So between like 17, they could go to school till they're 22. So we look at transition programs where it gets them ready for the workforce. So there's different IU programs where they can't start learning those job skills, learning to take care of themselves. Some of them are the ones in a house where they learn how to clean and fold and do those types of things. Project Search is at the hospital. The Gettysburg Outlet is another one.
Yeah, you did have some students
Yep,
come
yep,
and
yep.
do a
So
presentation.
it's all those
Yeah,
transition
okay,
programs.
gotcha.
And yeah, they're very expensive. I gave Dr. Marchese a hard time. I talked to him about how expensive they are. And are there any programs that you've identified that we use them for that we could find any type of efficiencies in either bringing them back or taking them somewhere else? Or
No, and I think like as Adams County, we have talked and worked with the IQ and everybody's done the classes that they think they can best support. So for example, life skills, deaf, hard of hearing, those are classes that are very high needs, multiple disabilities that we feel the IQ does best in. They're very high need students. So in those areas, you know, I think we're all kind of, that's where we can support the best.
how many speech pathologists do we utilize?
There's one full-time here at ACES, and then there's one part-time virtual. But then there's also speech pathologists who work with all the students in all those LAU classes.
Seems like it weaves in and out.
It does,
And it's kind of like, it's kind of,
technically.
yeah, and it's like, but at the end of the day, there's cash having to be paid to accommodate the service. And just trying to understand and focus on that is, thank you, it's very helpful.
It's speech, OT, PT, different kinds of those services come through the LAU all across wherever those students are placed at.
The PCAs and TAs that we are using from them, why are we using people from the IU?
Because they're placed at York Learning Center.
Okay.
Or Hoffman Home, well, the York Learning Center,
They're given by the IU because they're in IU placement.
yeah.
If they're here at our, they use our PCAs and
You
PCAs.
mentioned
And support, they have a big.
So if there's a PCA, but if it's our student, they're a Littlestown School District student resident, they go to York Learning Center, their IEP requires a personal care assistant.
Not always, sometimes.
Well, but if it does,
If it does,
we have to pay the IU rate for the PCA.
because they found the PCA, yes.
Does the IU do a markup on that PCA, or are we paying them at cost just for that staff member that they have?
They pay their hourly rate.
But there's a markup probably, or
It's more than
We're-
what we,
where the IU is getting us is probably there, and when we get the tuition for like York Learning Center or whatever, we're paying for the service.
separate cost.
Yeah.
And that teacher.
any other questions from Mrs. Piastri? Don, do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm good right now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're good.
Good.
Where I was pivoting back to was that special ed costs are presented to us as pretty much mandatory. There's not really anything we can do with that without depriving the student of their free and appropriate public
We can't.
education. However, with the transportation, I think the one area that we can see a possible savings is to not expand to the extra regular ed route. I know that it's not the ideal circumstance, it's preferred by the department, but that's a pretty significant savings.
You mean regular ed route?
They're wanting to add a regular ed
The in-town.
in-town
Okay,
route.
gotcha.
Yep. And so I think that is an area that we should identify too.
Is
No,
this
move forward.
still involved, Dr.
No.
Piastri? So,
We're
Yeah.
not dismissing them all.
okay, all right. People were wanting to leave and I thought, okay.
This is like The Apprentice. Have you ever seen that show?
The consequences of not adding that in-town route, I know Laura's not
Yeah.
here, unfortunately.
So
Can you
the-
speak to that a little bit?
So there'll be longer ride times. With the longer ride times, we pay a premium to Christ Transportation if it's over basically an hour one way from the route back to the district. Because they do that multiple times a day. If it goes over 4.5 hours, we pay an upcharge for that. As well as we talked about just capacity in those vehicles. They can have them, but with some of the larger kids, those capacities aren't necessarily what fits the amount of kids that fit on them. So that's another
The
one.
cost of going over that time?
If we go over 4.5 hours, I don't have the markup with me. I would have to circle back on that. I don't think that was in her,
It wouldn't be what your ask is.
we would have to go through and see which ones would be over the trigger. We didn't go through that exercise as of yet.
But these are the routes that we have now. So are we experiencing significant overages now?
We do have some overages now. Yes, correct.
Much? How much?
I don't have that.
Well, isn't there also a safety concern too?
So there's essentially the kid, if you have overcapacity, kids are essentially in the aisle with their feet and their backpacks or anything else. So tripping hazards is one. The biggest one, I think, is just disciplinary. You get more kids on a bus for longer. There's just bound to be disciplinary issues that arise on busing.
What's the average capacity of the buses in the route?
So obviously buses are rated for 72 passengers. The ideal is for kindergarten was be 60 to 65. So we would reduce that from 72 to 60 to 65. And for secondary would be 45 to 50.
And I think the thinking behind that, Mr. Yerger, is that the younger kids possibly could get 3 in the seat, the older kids, 2 in the seat.
Yeah,
So it's a little more reasonable.
Yep. So elementary students, we look at, 3. The grades, grades 4 and 5, they start to get they're a little bit older and a little bit bigger. So some of those might only be 2 to a seat. That's why those capacity levels are reduced. Because elementary route is obviously K through 5 and secondary would be 6 through 12.
On that handout you gave us, the gray was what it is now, and the blue is, no.
The
blue-
gray is in-town routes.
Mhm.
The blue would be identified to change the route. So if you see the notes, I guess, on the beginning of the second page, it'll say color coded it. The gray is in-town, blue is capacity at or over limit that we would target to look at that in-town and propose essentially a new bus, facilitate that. Vans, we weren't going to touch. We feel comfortable in the vans right now and being able to move kids around them within that current routing.
Any thoughts on?
All right, now.
It's kind of hard to look, you're looking at the request and you're looking at potential overcharges and everything and not knowing what those numbers are. What is the impact of our decision from a budget standpoint? From a, our, just, you know what I'm saying?
So I believe adding the route was anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 for the regular route. We just didn't go through the thought process of how much that would impact if we didn't change it from a overage cost perspective. We just never went down that pathway. We could. We have a recommendation to move something forward. We could circle back in June and have that information. We just didn't go through that exercise yet.
We are meeting all the legal mandates of what we're currently doing. Correct?
Yeah. This would just be to facilitate ride time discipline and capacity.
Have we had any increases in reports of injuries or disagreements amongst students on the buses?
I'm going to defer to the.
Andrew, you have any thoughts on that one?
From a high school perspective, we don't have too many.
Because they sleep on the way to school.
We have a few, but we never have a tremendous amount in the high school.
Right.
I can't really speak to the younger, but we don't have too many.
Courtney's kids are the problems, aren't they?
Out on the bus.
But just want to make sure I understand what you're asking. So you're asking, some of our kids have challenges on the bus.
Not necessarily. Have you heard or are you hearing, right? Any additional reports or issues in regards to safety or instances that may be happening on the bus more than you have in the past? I'm looking for like an increase, like, is there a sign that we're getting that maybe more kids are,
Yeah.
because there's more kids in the bus, et cetera?
Yeah, I would answer that sort of 2 ways. One, the more kids you have on the bus, like you're going to have, more safety issues you are going to have on the bus. Coming from the high school perspective, where there's not a lot of bus referrals, bus issues,
my short 3 years down there, I have been a little surprised at challenges that we do have on the buses. Which result of kids and behavior, which ultimately does become a safety issue. Drivers trying to drive the bus,
Sure.
considering a classroom.
Sure.
Just moving. And all positive, constructive activities occurring. So, yeah, we do get some challenging behavior sometimes on the bus. But it's hard for me to say, is it a higher number than normal?
I just didn't know if you had noticed like an uptake or an increase in,
I do feel,
because of the number of kids that are on buses.
me and my experiences, my exposure, to that number is higher than what I would have expected.
Not necessarily, but not necessarily more than normal.
Uh,
It's just, I'm kind of shocked too. I would have thought high school, middle school would have been, or, and the little angels in elementary school. would have
Little angels.
But when you do get one, it's for a higher level thing. There's a fight on the bus.
Right.
Or there's a forbidden item on the bus. There's
Right.
maybe on the
Bigger,
Even if
stronger.
the bus driver, as Mr. Ryan said, is busy driving the bus, they're not hearing all of the little sloppy disagreement
Right.
things that a teacher might write out, and high school, middle school kids can kind of contain themselves that way. So when we get one, it's much higher level stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we get more volume. Bigger issues.
But when you look at this, what you mainly want to change is high school, middle school.
Pretty even.
This is high school, middle school, high school, middle school, high school, middle school, high school, middle school, and then 3 on elementary, whatever. Does Donna have this?
I'm looking, what I have, doesn't look like that.
That was a handout last.
I think I printed it.
Is it in this one?
No,
It looks like this.
I gave you one. If not, it might still be on my desk.
Did it come up on the high jump? Is it in the high jump group?
No, this would have been a
Separate
separate,
bus.
it might be sitting on my,
The proposed budget scenario, was it in that one?
I mean, you can have mine to see.
I remember printing it.
Gray is the in-town groups, and the blue ones are the ones that you want to change. These are high school, middle school, and these are. So these are the numbers on the bus.
Patience, it's. Let everybody have their.
Is the elementary school like maybe arguing or pushing, pulling hair and shoving? I'm shocked.
All the above, I mean, it is.
I was a good elementary school.
I mean, when I see it's a not being able to regulate themselves.
Yeah.
For our needy students that they're just can't regulate their emotions or their attention or their activity and sit still.
So what routes is it that Christ is taking over this year? Is that the non-pubs?
Yes. The non-pubs, Christ would be taken over.
From Lincoln?
The following year would be special needs, and then Christ would have all three of the,
Is our
Right.
Christ rate better than the Lincoln rate?
yes. Per that proposal, the Christ rate was better from a longevity standpoint than that. Proposals.
Thank you.
But it's better than the current rate that we're paying. So like next year, we're gonna be seeing a cost savings going to Christ.
From a non-pub perspective, we would have had to go out to bid, so I can't answer that. Because the rates were ending. We didn't have rates for 26, 27 for Lincoln. The contract ends at the end of this fiscal year. We would have had to go out to RFP just for non-pubs. When we went out to RFP, we included the additionals for Christ to absorb when the Lincoln contracts end, so.
Right, but compared to like the Lincoln rates this year compared to what we're gonna pay Christ to do the same job next year, that's just what I'm asking if they.
But it's not apples to apples, because we would have had to go out to a 5-year proposal, and those rates would be drastically changed from 5 years ago when we attained the current rates now. Just like when we went out to RFP, it'll drastically change, so they're not apples to apples. We would have a 5-year
That's-
Lock it in.
So the answer is it's not, it's higher, or the price rates are higher.
And I would 100% expect Lincoln rates to be on par prices now, but we don't have rates for that.
So now that I'm on the right page. The 200,000, is it just for the in-town?
No, it's the cumulative of all the pieces that we talked about. So
So
special
that-
needs, non-pub, regular, and the contract increase, yeah.
So if that's the case, I didn't know that. So if that's the case, I would say, I think from a safety perspective, be kind of hard not to do that one. You know what I mean? When I first did the math, it came up to 33,000 per bus. But I'm assuming, and that was going off the idea that it didn't include the Amish students, the extra students going to special ed outside placement, transportation for them, yada, yada. If that includes fuel, the bus and the bus driver and the bus driver's benefits, 33,000 per bus.
60 to 80,000 for the in-town route. That's what he just said.
For one route?
Yep.
So that, yeah, we would then get,
Doesn't even work.
Well, I think that you're adding them all together that's on this sheet and then subtracting, but there's different elements to, like, some of these are vans, some of these are minibuses, so they're different vehicles.
Difference. Okay.
So for the regular bus, it's 60 to 80.
and they go per how long the route is. There's a lot of factors for that.
Okay.
Our fuel is not impacted because they have to pay.
Correct. We get the fuel through our consortium with the IU. So we pay for it and then they reimburse us for dollar for what they use. That was per the agreement.
So all these figures that we're seeing in here, they're not patented.
No,
Anyway.
this is just their rate cost, adding a route and then doing that times our 176 days, I believe, next year. And prorating that across.
Thoughts on this?
What are we gonna do on it?
Well, hard question to ask is if it's not approved, are we out of compliance?
Not from a regular ed route. From a special ed and a non-pub, we are required to do those. Regular ed, this would be a decision to move forward from an in-town route perspective.
So basically, all the required mandated, that's getting to be taken care of regardless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so then Nick had the proposal of removing the regular ed route. Donna, basically, I believe her proposal was to do all the routes.
Well, until I got the 60 to 80,000 amount. How much would it be if we didn't just do the in-town route? How much does that lower the $200,000 cost if we just don't do the in-town route?
$60,000 to $80,000.
I thought you said that's how much.
That's how much the regular ed route cost.
So then we're looking at possibly 120 to 140 total.
Yeah, that was just the change. That was just a highlight change from the April meeting to the May meeting.
Well, I think the question is, you have a $200,000 figure. You have mandated, it's in there,
Mhm.
which is 120, 130 or ish. And then the rest of it is the in-town route.
Mhm.
So the in-town route is the discussion. Do you all want to keep the in-town route in it, or do you guys want to take it out and just do the mandated stuff? That's the question.
So here's the difficulty. Difficulty is deciding what we're gonna delete before we actually know have a total list of things that we can delete. So until we develop a total list of items that we could possibly consider removing, it's hard to just say, okay, let's just do the buses. You see what I'm saying?
So is your request to get additional information? And do we have time for you to be able to do that to our next
You
meeting?
mean from 200,000?
I think,
Are you talking about 200,000?
I think we got enough
You
information.
just want to clarify what you mean, like,
So,
so are you wanting to put all of the potential cuts out there and then us go through?
we need to get this done.
That's what we are doing. We are
That's-
through.
We've just been going one by one, but
You
so,
guys already put your interests that things that you have concerns with
that's what we're
on the
going
table.
through.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed.
We're going
I
to,
missed two
we're
meetings.
going to each one, or well.
We'll get to them, I
Just
think.
this meeting,
Okay,
but what we've been doing so far is we've been going through seemingly each department
All right.
and the questions we have for the department.
all right. Fine, then I say we circle back on the buses. Because I'm not ready to say I don't want to not add them from a safety perspective. On this one, I have to look at this as a safety perspective. And from a safety perspective, I would support keeping the in-town route. But I don't want to make that a final decision until we look at the total budget to see what we're looking at for a deficit.
That's kind of a,
We'll just say, if you want to just get it, what a majority is, we can, if there's not a majority, we'll circle back.
That's fine.
What do you? Let's see. Want to save the in-town route? Do you want it out? What do you want to do? Just your thoughts?
I mean, it is a safety issue, so. And it's,
So
We'll circle back after you hear from some of the others. How's that sound? Okay. On a lighter note, how about we go to Dr. Naylor and let's
On a lighter note,
let's talk a little bit about technology and what questions might you have relative to 26, 27 technology?
Can I start
Judy,
that
go ahead.
for a second? Because Dr. Becker also has something with one of his very own children this
I
evening.
did not realize that. High school.
So if there's any questions for the high school budget, if we could do that next.
Just something to go to a lighter situation, but I don't know.
they were all sticking out there.
Questions for Nate or Andrew at high school?
Didn't have any.
I didn't have any major questions for them. I mean, it all looked pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
I would just say for the general public and who might be listening out there, my experience here, being here 8 months, one of the things that I've learned is that pretty much all of our departments, by and large, have been level funded for years. So as I've said before, on many occasions, some of you privately, some of you publicly, the low-hanging fruit is pretty much gone. If you're thinking that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there that we can just make cuts. That's not your reality, and that's not the reality of most districts in Adams County for sure, and any other district that I'm aware of at this point. If we're going to balance the budget down the road, and I don't think it's going to happen right away, but it will happen if our team can work on lowering expenses and this team can work on generating a little more revenue. It'll be a team effort if it's going to get done. I'll keep saying that till I'm blue in the face. Maybe that'll sink in, maybe it won't. But in the end, if it's going to happen down the road, and it won't happen 26, 27, but it might happen over the next 2 to 5 years. I can see that trajectory definitely happening for the Thunderbolts. So when we go through their departments and we look at line items and so on, I think it's great that you all are doing your due diligence and putting in this kind of time. I think that's commendable. But at the same time, I think you do need to realize that this is not a luxurious budget or requisitions that people have asked for in the vetting process all the way through. And Donna, I know you know this and so on, and you had mentioned about, well, I got to see all these things that we possibly can cut. I can tell you along the way, when the staff members make requests to the department chairs, when the department chairs come and meet with the principals, when the principals and the department leaders come and meet with us, those things get vetted along the way to the 11th degree. So the things that are finally in that budget are things that I believe, by and large, are not luxuries, but necessities overall to keep the operation going here at the school, to provide our kids with a good education. So with that said, let's go to the high school.
I don't think anybody has any questions.
Do you have anything for the high school?
Don't let them off that easy. They deserve to get questioned a little bit. Come on, Gene.
I actually thought your budgets looked really reasonable.
Wow.
Do we have, so we've been told, at least I've been told, that there's motion sensors for the lights at the high school. I'm sure that's probably not in the whole high school building itself because only portions of it were remodeled or, in the newer sections, I'm sure. But what do we have in the section that faces the tennis courts? I guess the back of the school, and then on this side of the high school that would face like the stadium field? No, internal lights. So I know there's classrooms all in and
I
out.
would say that don't, this upgrades would be basement level areas, so.
Well, and I don't know about all of the 90s
90s
wing. Did they update all those? Okay.
We also receive rebates for all those efforts from the as well to have those.
So I'm really concerned about the electric bill. That's what I'm kind of focused on. It just seems really high and at night, like when we leave our meet.
Not to interrupt you, but I do believe that's an anomaly because of all the construction that's been going on and the extra security lights and things that are in areas that normally, now that construction, we're down to, the punch list. Again, I think utilities are expensive everywhere,
Right.
but I do think the excessive utility it cost for us this past year, I think it's pretty hard to judge by that because of all the extra electrical that was required for construction. Just my opinion.
Okay.
And I think I've heard Victor and others talk about that in the past as well.
But because there are a lot of people in there working even in the evenings late, and of course, anytime anybody moves into that area, you're gonna see things pop on. And they stay on for a period of time, which once things start to slow down and that's not happening. An entire wing, like the older part of the 90s wing, there's really not a lot of reason for people to be there. Once the construction's finished, and they'll stay off. So a lot of the ones you're seeing probably that are facing like the
The
stadium.
tennis courts or the stadium?
Yeah, I think you'll start to see not do that. One would hope.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we'll be holding out to lower electric costs this year.
Yes, that's right.
We should see a significant drop this
I
year.
don't think.
This is really bad. I still go through rooms and in this building, and if I see lights on and there aren't people there, I'm turning them off all the time.
Honestly, I actually do try to do the same thing.
I was gonna say, so do I. Yeah, but.
I do walk around.
I think I might have OCD or something like that.
Can't go home.
Andrew, Nate, thank you.
Questions for the IT? Lighters on.
Go back to Eric.
Naylor, are there any questions committee has for him?
No, I have a question on a different topic. That's fine.
Dr. Naylor, the Chromebox ViewSonic boards, those are the new ones that we're getting, or a lot of them were put up at in the building project.
teacher to the device, so that frees up the teacher's device with the interactive board is a standalone. Your help assist with streamlining the instructional process. Sources that we've seen with that unit in the classroom.
The 6,000, how many of those do we get with that?
We've been trying to phase those in, so they're approximately anywhere from summer, anywhere from $300 to $400.
Board or just the Chromebox? Okay, so the View Sonic, so all of those we already have. Okay.
And we purchased a large portion of them through the construction project.
This is, because like when I was in, it was the teachers' like desktops back at the time for the most part that they had hooked up to the projector that they would do the whole thing on. Now it's a separate Chromebook with the View Sonic.
From her teacher device, the board. It's a standalone unit, and it's the way it functions.
And do we even have desktops in the classrooms anymore? Or are they all laptops?
The only desktop lab right now that we're looking at refreshing would be the engineering lab, Mr. Ferguson's lab. Still utilized as CAD and desktop hardware with regards to that classroom.
So the library, they don't have that desktop lab anymore. Remember the elementary school, Rolling Acres used to have that. Remember that?
Yes, I do remember, but
They don't do that anymore?
And the new devices on the refresh cycle this year are for what grades?
New devices at ACES in kindergarten and third grade, and secondary level 6th and 10th grade.
Okay. And these are, at the elementary, we're getting iPads to replace Chromebook. That was a decision made
The
last.
second year.
Discussed
Is it third grade? So this time?
this year, kindergarten students will keep their devices as they move into first grade.
Right.
And then your current third graders will keep their devices and we'll deploy those into the fourth grade classroom and we'll refresh.
Right.
And start with kindergarten, third grade again.
So every year, kindergarten, third grade get.
Right.
They're assigned to this.
And we have
Keep
one more year, I think, to get the whole building to iPads.
covered.
Yes.
Then I guess fifth and second, I guess that makes sense because fifth and second, those teachers are still going to be accustomed to the Chromebook instruction until their final year. Makes sense. The website, that's a topic that we've discussed some. Do we have any intention of ever switching websites, or are we currently satisfied with?
I can jump in on that. We're currently within a contract period with Thrillshare / Rooms. I believe we have next year is the final year, and yes, we would be open to possibilities when that contract would end at the end of next year.
I know how much Jeannie's in love with our website.
We hate it.
So yes, we frequently visit other school districts and look at what features they have and don't have and what we can integrate here. And yes, we're actively going to seek other options when that contract ends.
All I have for Dr. Now.
Donna, do you have anything for Dr. Nail?
I don't, thank you.
Thank you. Other concerns? Ryan?
I have one. We've heard bits and pieces about the repeater. So this might be for Dr. Neal before he leaves. We heard just the other day that it was the cost, payment for the repeater was gonna come out of furnishings and et cetera category. But I do have memory that about 3 meetings ago, it was discussions about the cost of, or the payment for the repeater coming out of another category. Did we move the money around to cover the cost of the repeater?
No, it just needed, it was a non-approved item that needed board approval within the construction project. So the construction projects is essentially in 2 categories. We have the pay apps, or the 4 primary contractors for their service. And then what we have is soft costs. And then the soft cost is broken down into several subcategories, which is change orders, furniture, fixture, equipment, professional services like architects, borough fees, et cetera. So the med ed costs would have came out of that. The radio repeater is going to come out of that. All the furniture that we purchased would come out of that. So that kind of buckets all encompassing between change orders, furniture, equipment, and just professional services, encompassing of all the soft costs that was approved when the project was board approved a couple years ago. So they're somewhat interchangeable in that.
Good.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mark.
Tom, can you explain the LIU supply bids?
Yeah, so that is a consortium that we use. It's called Joint Purchasing Board that districts can participate in. And they go out and bid collectively with all the participating school districts. Then go out to those vendors and get those items at a discounted rate. So that comes out, I believe, every November-ish timeframe. We send that out to the buildings. They have opportunity to request their quantities. Then they go back to the IU. They put them across all the districts, and then they go out to the vendors and say, here, we're looking at the thousands of supplies that we're looking to buy, get the best rate, and then it comes back to the district as a per unit cost. We use those.
And Tom, that's a quantity discount for schools encompassing 3 counties, Franklin, York,
So-
and Adams.
Yeah.
I think it's only those 3.
It's any district within the IU. Not everyone participates, but most. They don't participate in our Lincoln Intermediate 12. They do participate in another intermediate unit or another consortium for those items. So the common items are general supplies that we see, art supplies, custodial supplies, paper. Yeah, paper is a big one. So copy paper plus just paper products. So that's one of our largest purchases throughout the year. And the IU handles all that. We just compile quantities and then do the purchasing on that end.
In like for the paper and for the different things that you get, it's a better price through them than we could get on our own through other vendors.
Yes, I would say 9 times out of 10, not all the cases. Sometimes we do shop around and get some different competitive prices. So as you know, this day and age is Amazon. So we do shop around sometimes with those and we do get some different rates, but most of the time, yes, they have better rates because they're going right to the distributor to get those.
So it's volume.
Yes, yeah, I think there's over 25, maybe 20 participating districts.
I think there's 26 in the 3 counties.
So it's like 20 or 23. that-
Yeah, it's not
It's not all
not
of them.
100%.
I must have one heck of a sale for you.
Yeah, Amazon does meet bid requirements, so we do use them frequently. They are a frequent vendor that
That was my question.
every school district uses. Yeah, if they weren't bid compliant, we would not use them as heavily as we do.
Jeannie, everything.
I have a question for Dr. Berryman on curriculum and instruction. The different curriculums that were listed as being purchases, are those new?
Which,
There's one for 27,000. Trying to pull it back up.
You on line 73.
What I'm in is like a PDF.
Oh,
Which document are you in?
I'm on my.
He's in the Excel, he's on the Excel.
It's like, there's like
He's
a
on the Ex-
million documents for.
He's on the Excel version of what you have.
Okay. So, yeah,
If you give me an amount, that might help me.
there's the ELA curriculum, object code 640, CI textbooks, ACES, ELA curriculum. Is that the new
So
that we just did the pilot?
the one we did the pilot. So if you'll remember, when we got our state budget, the Ready to Learn grant, I had earmarked for the ELA curriculum to be approved in June. So that's a placeholder for that.
Are there any other, what I'll basically say, all the curriculum pieces, they've been prior board approved and committee reviewed with the CCMP?
Yes. Yeah. Either this past year or years prior. So, and anything, I did try to mark on the document for everybody, even when I did the budgeting process for Tom, anything that we are paying for out of Ready to Learn, because there's certain categories that we can use in there, that has been earmarked out of the Ready to Learn grant that we got last year. So that is to be used by the end of June of this year. Current year. Yes, current year. That's why you have two different line items for me at the bottom. One is what it has to come out for next year, and then the other one is already for this year.
Yeah, we received approval to use this year's Ready to Learn grant to purchase those ELA programs to be implemented next school year. So essentially.
I reached out to the state for that.
There was a continuing education for the nurse.
Yes, so every year they have to take courses to keep their license current. So we bookmark every year or earmark $2,000 for them to do their continuing ed so that they can have their licenses renewed.
And is that a part of our contract with them?
Is it in the well, continuing ed is in the CBA, yes,
And that's only for the RNs, not the LPNs.
correct.
Any for Joey? Yeah, question.
Does the committee have any questions for everybody else that's here from the administration?
Say maintenance as well, because Victor could make it, so I can try to answer best I can on his behalf. Victor couldn't make it, so I could answer best on his behalf. So if you have any maintenance questions as well, same with Laura.
I guess to expedite, it kind of seemed like what you were looking to do. Do we want to start, do you have like a list or something of the different things that you want to look at? And then we can compile that and all
Well,
that
I
together?
didn't know about the help through December, and then we switched it to the end of the summer, and she didn't really have Victor's help.
Oh, Howie.
Howie,
Yeah, so contracted services,
We got $30,000 for that.
that got reduced down to 10. To just to get through the summer move, to have a extra helping hand with Howie. To help with the summer move. So original request was to make him through halfway through the school year to make sure we, to get through the grant, but then the committee reduced that down just to the end of August.
So can we talk about the zero-turn lawnmower?
That's out as well. That got removed. Yeah, that got removed at the, either that meeting or the next meeting. So that's no longer
It's
with,
the second zero-turn that we're talking about?
Yeah.
And it's removed.
yes,
Can we talk about the first zero-turn?
sure.
I'd like to know how that actually went through the process to be purchased. Because I'm a little unsure of how was it actually approved to be purchased when the policy that we have, I know it's up for review, but the policy is not reviewed yet, so it's still in place, is $11,800. And the zero turn that was purchased was 17,445, right? Do I have the numbers right?
Believe so.
Okay. So I don't understand how it didn't come before the board. And I'm not sure who actually authorized the purchase of that first zero turn. Not the question whether we need it or not. I'm sure we purchased it because we need it. At least I hope that's the case. But my question is really a process question. And the reason why I'm asking this question in regards to process is because moving forward, things like this can really, affect the budget. And we really need to have a handle on it because we're so, I just can't believe we're sitting here and we're looking at over $2 million in debt. I just can't. It's really hard. So, can we talk about the process of how that was approved? When we have a policy, 611 that says anything that's, more than $11,800 has to go through a process to be purchased, so what approval process did that lawnmower go through?
So just like anything else, it goes through a purchase order process
Okay,
we have in place. So departments have the free rein if they have it within their standing budget to move that item to cover those purchases. So Victor came through that request and put in a purchase order that got reviewed and vetted and then approved. When that purchase then gets approved, then it goes to the board for final approval.
when did that come to the board for final approval?
When the check right,
The one zero turn that we did purchase?
when the check registers come through, that's the board's opportunity to approve or deny any purchase.
How do we purchase it? How do we deny it when it's already been purchased?
We would return the equipment or a supply.
I'm sorry. Just Dr. Moyer coughed and I didn't hear that.
So
I'm
we
sorry.
return the equipment or the supply.
I'm sure we've probably already used it by now. We can't return it used, right? So who approved it? Maybe let's start with that. Who approved it?
Like I said, it goes through the approval process. So for purchase orders for maintenance would go from Mrs. Staub from request to Victor to review, to myself to review those purchases. That's the order for maintenance to receive items in our purchasing process.
So I'm struggling with the fact that we have a policy right now on the books. It's policy 611, and it specifically says a base amount of $11,800. And if this zero turn was $17,445, that's way over that amount. So did they at least go through and get 3 contractors or 3 different prices?
So in these equipment purposes, we always use a CoStar vendor so we don't have to go through and wait multiple months to retrieve those quotes. So there's approved vendors and approved CoStar vendors through the state that are allowable to not have to get multiple quotes because they're approved and their prices are legitimate through the state.
Okay. So what?
But this, the co-stars and bidding requirement, I know that's the state thing, but does that circumvent this policy? That says that they're required from at least 3 responsible contractors for
Yes.
purchases of supplies, equipment, or services that exceed a base amount, or
From the quote standpoint, yes.
But here's my challenge. How do we go from $11,800 in the policy to $17,445 for the item purchase?
I'm not
following
familiar
me?
with the exact wording on the policy. I
It's
got
right
it
here.
in front of me.
It says, all purchases that are within budgetary limits and were originally contemplated within the budget may be made upon authorization of the business manager. Written or telephonic price quotes shall be required from at least 3 responsible contractors for purchases or supplies, equipment or services that exceed a base amount of $11,800, subject to adjustment. And it just goes on about under section 120 of public code, public school code. Anything less than that amount doesn't require a competitive bid. So did we get a competitive bid? And the co-stars, that's just,
That's not
That's
what
what
it's
we
saying
have?
though. So what it's saying, so for anything over the 11.8,
yeah.
but less than the amount requiring competitive bidding by law,
Mhm.
we've got to get the 3 written or telephonic quotes.
The state says that gets circumvented if we use co-stars because they are approved and meet those requirements in lieu of getting 3 quotes.
Even though it's.
But isn't it the competitive bids that we circumvent through co-stars?
It's any purchase that would require either quotes, bids, from a state or federal compliance, well, from a state perspective. In federal compliance, we have to do what federal compliance says because that's the power to be. So yes, that they are any purchase that would be over the threshold to require, I believe it's 12,100-ish to get 3 quotes and then 25 or 26,000 to have sealed bids. Both of those options are available to use co-stars, Pepin, Omnia.
Pepin is the one that we work with.
It's utilized from a technology standpoint. It's primarily technology. It's very similar, exactly the same as what a ProStar process is.
But maybe this will help, Donna, and I think you had asked me about this before, and I think this is what I shared. I think historically, once there's a board-approved budget, Victor has a maintenance and facilities budget. When the said lawnmower breaks and he absolutely needed another one, what he did, he delayed other things that he normally would have purchased or projects that he would have done. He put on the shelf for a while because of the necessity of getting the grass mowed. So he stayed within his allotted funds that were board approved. He did not go over that dollar amount, which is why when it went through the process through Victor, Tom, myself, whoever, and it was a co-stars product, we were able to purchase that. So, and then I'm guessing Victor would have to answer the specifics. Those things that he put off, he's going to try to catch up with now. But he stayed within his allotted amount. Tom, correct me if I missed.
It wasn't in the budget last year either. He just used money from his budget that was left over.
No, it's in his current year. There is no such thing.
You're saying that the current year budget had a lawnmower in it.
No, I'm saying is he was allotted a dollar figure by the board for maintenance department. He's within his means and had enough funds to defer to maybe next year or even just not do it all to accommodate the.
And the reason that necessitates that is there are things that you cannot predict in the future when it comes to lawnmowers, roofs. I mean, we could go on. Electrical, plumbing, there's things that you cannot predict. They're going to have to make adjustments during the course of the year. That happens in pretty much every district that I'm aware of and every company that I'm aware of. It necessitates a little bit of discretion of the people that are in charge, the leadership team.
What account number did he pull it from?
He would have pulled it from his overall repairs budget. Yes. So yes, just to Dr. Moore's point, he basically has a number for repairs, any unforeseen circumstance in repairs. In any given year, that could go up or down, and he has to pull from other funds for repairs and vice versa. If he has less repairs, he can pull from to then necessitate a different need, such as this lawnmower. But
So you're saying just because he had money left over, he doesn't have to follow the policy of the 11-8?
No, in the policy, it says it's within his original, sorry, within his original allotted budget.
Well,
There's some money left over.
I'm gonna agree with, and I think that the board, the committee members are agreeing, I'm gonna agree with Donna. The policy says all purchases that are within budgetary limits and were originally contemplated within the budget. So this lawnmower wasn't originally contemplated within the budget. It wasn't budgeted for. It was still within his limit. But basically, I mean, just to get to the bottom of the process question, it probably should have been a board approval. It should have, it sounds to me like it should have been a board approval to change that funding mid-year. So,
And if we messed up on that, I take full responsibility for that.
well, but it seems like it's not just, it wouldn't be a you thing. It seems like, sounds like this has been a practice thing.
I think historically, what that has been past practice, I think.
So, and throughout our time on the board, we've identified different things that our processes and practices didn't align with our policies. And so as those things come up, we make the corrections and we make the fixes. And this will be something that goes along with that.
So is that why the same policy is up for review and we've changed the amount to 24,500?
I think it just came through on the PNNs as a recommended update from PSBA just for the amount.
But the committee lowered that recommended amount to 15,000.
The 24, they lowered to 15?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
No, that's okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So we should probably get back to budget now instead of policy though.
Well,
But I agree.
It's-
I
it's
agree.
still a budget issue.
But we're not going to be budgeting for another hour because we already got that. So getting back to, it sounded like you had some items that you wanted to talk about so that we can get it all out there and then decide what we want to cut.
Well, I like the
not
idea.
cut.
I like the idea of cutting $2 for every $1 of spending. I like that idea. I think I'd like to know if possible, and this is a question I'm not sure. Hopefully, we don't necessarily have to go into closed session for this. But I'm interested in knowing what are the 5 most recent positions, or maybe I should say 5 last positions that we've filled. I don't want people's names, just like the title.
I would say that we would need to go to an executive session because we're a small school district and there are a lot of positions that only have one person.
Can't just say like a teacher or a custodian or.
Indicative of other small schools like us, many times when you're talking about a position, you're talking about a person. So I think we have to be very careful.
Okay, no problem. That's why.
So if you want to go into executive session, though, we can.
We can, I mean, on it, I mean, if you have questions, there's an opportunity now to take it if you want it.
Okay. If
All right.
the people don't mind.
Okay, we're gonna have a quick executive session. Yeah.
Met in executive session to discuss matters involving employment, appointments, termination of employment, or terms and conditions of the employment, evaluation of performance, promotion, or discipline of a specific employee of the district.
All right, and piggybacking on that, I just, because that's a long statement. And due to the question that was asked, I just, for the people listening, for the teachers, the staff members, the administrators, I just want to speak on behalf of the board and say that we have no intention of furloughing at this time staff members. I just want to make that clear for any teachers, any administrators. I know the administrators took an interest and we're here tonight and everything. So I just don't want there to be any ambiguity about the reason for the executive session, or what the board's current thought process is behind the budget.
We rely on attrition and retirements that we review, and that's how.
And I will say, the board has looked, the board is looking at, along with our senior leadership team, attritional savings that we're going to see over the next short term, which makes our budget outlook significantly brighter.
Yep.
And we are looking through that. We are actively evaluating. We're conducting long-term planning as a board and how we do that. But we don't want to, unfortunately, other school districts are in much worse situations than us. And other school districts have made very significant staff cuts and furloughs. But we, at this time, we're not in that type of position. And we don't want our staff to feel as though there are any negatives coming in that direction.
Thank you.
Right. So what I'm going to recommend is we've all had a chance to look through. I think that we've asked questions. If we have any more questions, we can certainly ask. But I think that in terms of any potential budgetary cuts, if the committee has any that they want to bring up for us to sort of compile a list, and then we'll go and we'll evaluate each and decide what we're going to include and not include in the budget recommendation.
Donna, do you have anything you want to say?
I think that's a good statement. We'll compile a list.
Okay. So,
Right?
yeah, I'm talking about now.
Okay. Is the high jump pad in the budget?
We've removed it, but it will go back in per the discussion, with the removal of 1 year of uniforms.
And then Howie is still in there through.
Howie was,
the summer.
10,000 was left in for Howie for 2 months.
Donna, do you have any comment about that? Leaving Howie?
Let's put Howie on the list.
Well,
We're starting a list.
I think the one argument was.
We're going to do the list and then we'll go through.
Okay. Well, so I'm just saying the high jump pad does not go on the list.
So I have,
And we also have the bus route.
say, the regular ed route for in town.
So are we making a list of
Yes.
what we want?
No, we're making a list of potential cuts and then we're going to go through and talk, because you said that it's hard to talk about each one line by line until we know what all of them are going to be. So we're going to get a list of all of them that everybody's considering, and then we're going to go from there.
So what's the first thing on the list?
Howie.
For Howie.
Did she say Fort Howie?
Yeah.
And he's not
He come from 30,000 to 10,000.
Oh, you want to keep him through December?
well, and he's not an employee, he's a contractor. So that's why we're able to say his name. The correct thing would probably be for us to refer to that as the substitute maintenance contractor. So
I just put the name just so you could do the person.
yeah, I guess that does make it sound like we're firing somebody. So
Um, forget how they word it, but yes, it is a part-time facility manager.
So in the event that we decide not to keep the part-time facility manager, who else will do that position until,
The full-time facility manager.
I thought we got an extra one because one was busy doing something else.
We'll back up. The request was to extend him for 2 more months to help facilitate. So some of the walkthrough, some of the floors, he's able to do all items that a facility manager can do between custodian, grounds. So he's flexible in using him over the summer along with the move to get
Okay.
significant amount of work that we need to get done over the next few months. That was why that we requested him to stay on for just the 2 months.
And now we think we don't need that?
I believe that's up for discussion at the moment.
Nick, you think we don't need that?
Why don't we go through the list like you had recommended earlier,
Right, go ahead.
and then we'll go through
So I got Howie.
line by line. Howie's on the list.
Mhm.
The transportation, regular in-town route for transportation.
And that was 200?
No, it's gonna be 60 to 80.
60 to 80.
That fan goes off.
Others? Did we have anything else, Tom, that we had already discussed?
That's all I have from notes right now. We already discussed the other 2 athletic items, special ed and non-pub routes. I don't believe there's any from technology or high school. We have yet to visit some other departments. So I'm not sure if there's questions within those departments that might give us some items.
For piece of paper. Specific piece of paper. Does Jeannie, do you have anything, Jean?
No, I brought
Give us a
all, no,
commercial break, right?
didn't hear that, what?
Give us a commercial break for a second. I find this piece of paper.
You didn't have any other questions at the moment?
I mean, we'll talk, we're gonna talk about this year and operationally, what.
Yeah, I'm just talking about from,
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying, while she's looking, I've asked on my budget.
just keep going down.
Yeah.
Nick, do you have any additional ones for the admin team?
This is all in the discussion of the non-mandate.
Well, we can clarify that if that's a
Okay.
mandated versus non-mandated item.
While she's doing that, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What percent, if you could approximate, and
Mhm.
you might not have this number, what percentages of the purchases in this budget would you categorize as one time?
Hard question to answer as a percentage standpoint. I would say most building budgets are 1-year usage. Even the software we use is technically on a year-to-year, and we have the opportunity to change, obviously, if it's a long-term one. So I would say most departments that you're going to see are a one-time use opportunity.
But is there anything big, and maybe the admin team can think through their departments too? Is there anything like that we're getting this year, that we're gonna get this year, and we're not going to get next year? Like, an example that I'm thinking of is the curriculum.
Right, that I do,
Yeah.
try to do on a 3-year cycle.
So from an audit perspective, we have to be careful because we can't necessarily purchase stuff this year that's going to be integrated for next year. They have to be formalized within their budgets and purchased with next year's dollars. Any this year's dollars that are unused goes back into the general fund. The board gets to reallocate those as they see fit, and their budgets reset. If they don't get to use those purchase now to save later, that's not how an audit works. You have to use today's dollars for today's budget, next year's allocation for next year. So
Yeah, what I'm just thinking through is the long-term planning of like what is in this year that we
Oh.
probably won't see as a recurring
I
cost in
understand.
future years.
So there's a few things like in my budget that I can do a 3-year contract for. I know Tom likes to do,
They're still gonna be more than less.
like hands out through the year.
They're still mostly perpetual, the 3 years, you're most likely going to renew those.
Yeah.
The true one-offs are mostly equipment purchases, like large equipment purchases, such as the lawnmower, or I'm trying to think, the high jump pit would be one that would not be an expense for next year. Items like that would be the ones without having a itemized list of what those equipments are. Those are just the ones that we talked about that are on the top of my head. I'm trying to think if anybody else had large equipment purchases, so Al or Judy, you can have better memory than me on some of those.
Years ago, we replaced art tables at the high school, but they won't get replaced for 20, 30 years.
We just purchased new furniture, so that's not, something we're gonna look to replace, but that was the construction project, so just equipment would fall in that category. Any consumable obviously would not.
Courtney, Joey, Andrew, Eric, can you think of anything that relates to Mr. Lovell's question?
Same, I think all of our, these are pretty much general supplies, which would be consumable pieces.
Yeah.
Right.
There's very little equipment that's been purchased, and it's usually when an as needed as something breaks to replace it.
I think of was the kiln for art. That was a while ago. That's not even in this.
But that was,
It's a one-time.
That's a good example.
but that was facilitated through the project. Because they needed a kiln as an equipment. That was a predetermined. Yeah.
A lot of the stuff we did purchase went through the building project, so like the cafeteria and all the upgrades and all that is in that box.
Correct. So when
This category is like in the English department, they wanted to replenish a couple dozen copies of a novel that they use, so that will last for a couple of years. It's a couple $100. It's not a tremendously large purchase like buying a kiln, but that's maybe the only example I can think of in my budget.
You almost said,
In the library, it's those ebooks.
Mhm.
How long do we have the license for those ebooks? Just 1 year?
My understanding from Mr. Henshaw is there's two different types of books, ebooks. The first one is we might have access for kids to check them out. And I'm making this up for a calendar year. Like there's a time bound piece to it. And then it just expires and we would have to renew our access to that book. Other ebooks are like based on how many times a child checks it out. So this, we've purchased 5 checkouts of this book, and once it reaches the 5 checkouts. I just
That's
I'm nodding. I think that's how Mr. Henshaw's explained it to me in the past. And so we have a combination of the two.
They're only going to ebooks now, right? In the libraries, they're not gonna do
We haven't
any
purchased any.
physical books.
And secondary
But elementary, there's still
books.
books.
So are the sports, a couple questions. Are the sports activity funds, fund reserves, they're in the operating budget, correct?
Student activity
No.
funds?
Sport activity, sport activity funds, reserves. Sport activity fund reserves. Is that in the operating budget?
what reserves, I'm
Not understanding.
Just like,
I guess it would be under sports. It would come under sports, like,
So you're talking about the athletic department?
I guess, yeah.
The athletic department is in the operating budget, yes.
Okay.
But the student activities, like is every,
No, not.
yeah.
so all athletics is underneath the general operating budget.
Right. So with that being said, what's that current total right now? Do we know
What their operating budget is?
what their balance is? In other words, the fund balance for sports that we have right now.
We don't granularize down that far. So it would just be the operating budget as a whole, not necessarily what athletics.
So
If you want athletics department's budget performance as the year, I'm assuming, is that what you're looking for?
So I'm just curious, why don't we consider directing the sports activities fund reserves towards a deficit or reducing the deficit.
I understand so you're talking about the reserve, the assigned fund balance
Yeah.
for future athletic projects.
Right.
That's up to the board to decide that. So as I presented back with that, the concept behind that is we have a turf that's going to be near end of life in the next few years and a track replacement that's end of life in the next few years. That's essentially more or less seed money to pay for those instead of going out.
Do we know what
Bond.
that amount is in that category?
750,000.
It's currently have 750,000 earmarked for that.
Okay,
And that guy got blown out of the water with the.
Well, this would just be for any future, not necessarily
Future
baseball,
okay.
baseball, softball.
Assigned fund balance.
What we would do, in the case of that, we would accumulate that essentially in the general fund. And then when the board's ready to execute, we would transfer that to capital reserve to pay that out of a capital project fund. The same thing we did with athletics when the land sale, we moved that and then we purchased out of cap. So general fund is just housing that money until the board would approve the full purchase and then we would transfer the funds over to pay for that. It is a capital improvement.
I would like to put the 750,000 on the list.
So that's not in the operating budget. And
To cut.
we can talk about the fund transfers and things like that. If we could just first stick to having reviewed all of the different departmental budgets, is there anything within the general fund operating budget, anything else that we want to put on this list to talk about, whether it's in or whether it's out?
Well, technically, that's in the general fund operating budget, right?
No, that's not a budgetary item. That's just a fund balance. That's an assigned fund balance, but there's no expenditure associated with that in the budget.
Okay. Well. I'm not really good with, you want to get the new high jump, right? And you're gonna do that by not laying.
I think that's for safety, but I've proposed a revenue source that's actually it's double the amount that we would spend on the high jump. Is the uniform deletion.
Tom, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, so it's okay if you don't know it, I'm okay with that. You could maybe get me the information later. But what would 2% of the school budgets at the elementary, middle, and high level be? What would that get us?
I would not have that. I'd have to
Okay.
get back to you on that.
Okay, that's fine, no problem.
2%
2% of the total budget?
of their individualized.
Their individualized school budgets.
So for
I'm trying to think.
elementary, middle school and high school.
The three levels, elementary, middle, and high.
I don't have it now, but it
That's
was
fine.
too hard to compile,
That's fine, no problem.
send out.
Anything else on the list we want to discuss? We haven't discussed yet. Is there anything else on the list?
This is up to the committee to ask any additional questions.
Were you going anywhere with that question?
Well, depending upon the amount, and I don't know what that amount would be, and it's fine, we don't have to have it today, we can find it later. But I'm looking to see where we can pull some money from to try to reduce the deficit.
You mean outside of salaries, though?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming, I'm hearing that you want the end result to be a 2% reduction across the three buildings.
well, I'm just looking for that. I don't know how much that'll be. It may be really not enough to do anything with, and so therefore I wouldn't be interested in the end, but not knowing how much it is.
So salary and benefits is 62.
I'm not looking at anything to do with.
Right. Our debt is 9.5%. Tuition's 8.7. LIU's 5.5. Transportation's 4.8. Utilities and fuel is 1.5. So the remaining is 5.1% of the total budget, according to this handout. That's still accurate, right? So it would be 2% of the 5.1.
Mhm.
No, because that 5.1 is across all budgets, not just the building budget.
Yeah.
But we have, obviously, transportation has some supplies, technology, special ed, business office, superintendent, assistant superintendent, they all have some piece of that 5.1%, not necessarily all the three buildings bear that.
Well, then, okay, that's a good scenario. So what would be 2% of administrative expenses? Not salaries, not salaries.
So 2% of just essentially every budget would be a better scope, in my opinion, if that's the number you want. We would have maintenance and transportation, tech, special ed, business office. We could go 2% from all.
We could look at that. It
Have that.
does not affect salaries though, correct?
No, that would just be their essentially supplies and equipment, dues and fees.
Okay. So we don't, it's hard to do this because we don't have a lot to work with. You know, you have your contractual agreements, so you can't touch them. You know, and when it comes down to 5% of the total cost, then you got a small amount of money to work with. It's exactly like what Dr. Moyer said, or has been.
We've been doing a lot more professional development. Do we have a lot more that we plan on doing in the coming year?
We have some math professional development with the new ELA curriculum. There'll be professional development with that. We're doing some leadership professional development. I didn't up the budget on that. I can certainly take a look at it.
I didn't know if it was something that was going to be.
It's an area I hesitate to pull too much from because we want a quality staff for our students.
I know the elementary school is going to have new curriculum, so you're going to need that. I just didn't know if it was going to be more, if it was going to be the same, but you said you kept the budget the same.
Funded, I didn't add anything to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just back to Donna's point, that's just the nature of school districts. They're very restrictive on what the board has essentially authority over. The two major things is obviously the itemized individual budgets, which is a small amount of the total, the contractual obligations, and then the tax base and tax increases. So other than that, there's not much, it's not mandated either by state, federal, or local entities that we must provide here as a public education.
We went from 3.4 to where are we at now?
As of the May 5th, it depends on which tax scenario, anywhere from 2.8 to 2.3. Now that's subjective to what makes it in or out of this discussion. Right.
Didn't you say yesterday that for this current year, the operational, we're going to have a surplus again?
Have a deficit because of the
Operational.
operational, they'll have to determine that through June.
You should be able to project right now.
Does- So really, I guess, here's the bottom line for me. We're looking at, no matter what scenario you pick, whether it's 0% increase for taxes, 1% increase, 2% or 3%. Any of those scenarios, you're looking at least $2.3 million surplus.
Deficit.
Deficit. So even if you go with the lowest amount, I would say, I would look to administration and say, you guys decide where you want to cut, but you need to find at least $1.3 million before we, start looking at a tax increase. That's just my perspective. I know I'm only one vote and that's fine. But I honestly can't sit here and consider a tax increase if we haven't really done, we need to really dig hard. And it's not easy work, but, everything we're looking at, it just keeps coming back. We're just gonna have to really, and it's easy for me to say, oh, take 5%, take 2% here, there, whatever, put it on the list, take it off the list. It's really, I would look to administration and say, they know, and the reason why is because they know where it's gonna hurt the least. It's gonna hurt absolutely, no matter what we do, no matter what we look at, decreasing or not funding or whatever language you'd like to use, it's definitely gonna hurt. That being said, administration's gonna know where it will hurt the least. So I would look to administration to recommend at least $1.3 million cuts before we look at increasing taxes. That's just my perspective.
I thought you said yesterday that we were gonna potentially have a operational surplus for this current year.
Are we scoping in or out of the
I'm
construction?
just asking. I thought that's what we understood yesterday. Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
Do you have a recollection of anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, what we talked about yesterday was that with the construction on paper, it's a deficit. However, that was a $6.2 million planned expense. So if you scope that out, what it's looking like is this year, we're going to end with another surplus. Most likely.
That's not what I'm looking at on paper.
That's what we're looking at in reality for the year we're in, not next year,
I understand.
this year. We're not, and I mean, they're in the fund balance projections that we got at the beginning of the whole budget thing, they were the same as last year. So I don't think that the administration was projecting a deficit when we started this budget. In my opinion, I've done 2 budgets. This will be my 3rd. The last 2, we've had 2 audits since I've been on the board. Both of them ended in large surpluses, $3.2 million, $1.5 million, which was last year. I think that it's difficult for me to justify tax increases when, despite the administration's early on projections, we end in a completely different direction and we end with a surplus. And it's looking once again like it's going to be a similar case this year. We're not going to end in the over $1 million deficit that was projected and planned when the budget was done last year with a 0% tax increase.
Well, it's more enjoyable to hear what you just said, but it doesn't match with the paperwork that we're given.
But if you look at the actuals and the budgets for the previous years, they don't match.
Correct.
They don't match. So just, I know you're saying it doesn't match, but it hasn't matched.
I understand, but as of last year, we had investment accounts that earned us over $1 million, I believe. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom. If I say anything that's wrong, please correct me. But I think we had extra income from investments that I think it was $1 million or more. But we're not going to see that this coming year because most of that money was the money we set aside for the new building.
But that, we still are going to see it in some form because we've still had some as we've been spending it down. Because Jeannie and I needed some clarification on some of the items that we were going through. And we came and talked to Tom, similar, I think you did today.
I just got papers that
So-
you guys had from the last two meetings. I
Right,
wasn't here.
so we came in to get some clarification and that's where we landed. So that's where it's looking like operationally, we're not going to be in the over $1 million deficit that was budgeted and projected last year.
So what is it looking at like then?
Based on the conversation yesterday, it's looking like similar to last year.
I don't understand this. How come it's not matching with the paperwork?
Tom, very conservative in his budgeting.
Well, no, that's a good thing. Conservative is a good thing, but you're saying $1 million, right? Is that what you're saying?
Based on, I don't want to put it out as a promise. All I'm saying is it's not going to be, it doesn't look like from what we've been told, I'm just going off of what I've been told from the administration, is that it's not going to be the deficit that was projected
At all or as high?
At all.
at all.
I'm sorry. I'm following along, but let me check my sugar and make sure, because this is not making sense to me.
Here she knows what year you're talking about. Sorry, Nick. I don't mean to interrupt, but I.
The current year that we're.
It's the year that we budgeted last year. It's the year we're currently sitting in.
Right?
We've asked Tom for projections. Where are we going to finish out this year? Because that helps us to think about, okay, what type of shape is our fund balance going to be in as we plan for the future?
Yeah, I got that.
Tom has always been very hesitant or reluctant to tell us because he doesn't like to tell us one thing and it end up being another, or he doesn't project.
He doesn't always know complete funding from the state
Right.
at this
There,
point.
and there are things that can change after the year's over while they're going through the audit. But Jeannie, Al, and I kind of pressed him yesterday, and what he got was what I'm telling.
Okay, then maybe you guys should make up the list because it sounds like you guys have more information than I do. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. What do you want me to tell you? I mean, I did get the information that that we did include a 70% state funding, is that it? 70%, am I saying that right?
70% of the governor's proposal.
Governor's proposal. So we did include that.
Yes.
So did that change the scenario, Nick?
That's reflected in the 2.8 to 2.3.
That made it go from the 3.4 down to the 2.3 to the 2.8.
It's reflected in which scenario?
If you're,
Go to the one that says full state funding, full governor's budget.
most reflective one would be that paper that she's on, I believe, Nick, that page there would show 70%. If you see the notes.
With the 70%, so that's why the highest.
So it's on the right page. Okay.
And there, I think the slideshow previous to that, there was.
Correct.
Three different pages.
She has that one there, but that's the most accurate information because we presented that last week at May 5th.
So even with the I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. So even with the 70% governor's proposed funding.
Mhm.
We're still looking at 4 different scenarios. And they go anywhere from 2.8 to 2.3 million in a deficit. So get me from somewhere, please, get me from that perspective to Nick's perspective where we're not in a deficit at all.
Well, he's talking about the current
Talking
year
about-
now, the end.
I'm talking about this year, because we budgeted what was the budgeted deficit, Tom? 1.3 or 1.8?
I think it was actually I don't know, 2 point something, I think.
It was around say $2 million
Okay.
that we budgeted as a deficit.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is, that was the budget we approved last year before you were on the board. This budget, what we're asking Tom is, what's going to be, where are we gonna end in this budget? Because
This year.
that's what we're gonna get. We're gonna get the final numbers of where we landed this year from the Zelenkovsky Axelrod people in December, when we do the audit in December. So, but what we pressed Tom for is the preliminary, his projections of where we're gonna land. And where we're gonna land this year, it's not gonna be the $2 million deficit. It's looking like it's going to be a surplus. And so it's going to be a multiple $1,000,000 swing, most likely, in the other direction.
So how much of a surplus is it gonna be?
We don't know that. Projections were a surplus. I mean, unless you.
We won't,
1.5 or
we won't have numbers until obviously the audit.
So we have a situation here where we got,
Donald, do you understand why he doesn't know or why he's reluctant? There are a lot of moving parts.
I get it.
We don't know what our state subsidy is going to be. We're taking a educated guess at that. So as a result of that, if you're looking for something definitive, Karnak does not have a crystal ball here.
Right, I got it.
based on what we're seeing here, some stuff's gonna have to play out, obviously. But, you know, I was not at that meeting yesterday. I'm going off information, what I'm hearing from you two, three, that we're probably sitting better than we think.
Well, we know what our salaries are gonna be. We know you've got a supply freeze, and you said April 1st. So we know we know if our expenses are gonna be what they were budgeted or if they're gonna be a lot less. So that part we at least know for sure. Pretty much.
I think he made his estimated projection with that information. So at this point, I mean, we're at a place where we need to, you know, let them know what we think we should do as a recommendation from the committee.
Want to pick 2 scenarios to take Monday board meeting?
Yes.
Well, do we want to pick whether these things are in or out?
Yeah, you need that.
I would say for ease, we'll just go real quick. I believe it's the high jump hit with the proposal of uniforms being reduced. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that'll go through regular ed and town route. Gina, I'm gonna go back to you first.
Me, all right. It's safety reasons. I think we should.
Okay, that's a yes.
No.
Anna, for regular ed. Then town route for transportation.
I think we should, just for safety purposes.
No.
So we have 2 and 2 is
Who's the tiebreaker? I think Judy should be.
my recommendation. When there's a tie, you present it to the board and let the full 9 majority choose. That's just my 2 cents on it. If there's a tie break, if there's not a.
Maybe you should break the tie.
It's not my,
Gonna set that.
it's not my decision. I'm not a board member, so I'm not gonna make that decision. If the committee's agreeance with that, we'll just showcase it in and out on scenarios.
That makes sense.
We also need if they're, what the tax scenarios may or may not be. So, or if we're changing any of the governor's proposal or any other revenue.
Donna, what tax scenarios would you like to see in this?
You just want to do two, right?
I would suggest not doing more than two, then it starts getting some.
You know, it's ridiculous.
Oh, that's because none of them really put a dent in the projected deficit. That's why.
So, if we're only picking two, then I'd say 0 and 1. But I don't know how these numbers are gonna actually work out, because you're telling me we're not gonna have a deficit, and these papers say completely different.
For this year,
Mhm.
the year that we already budgeted a $2 million deficit. Just like the year before, we budgeted over $1 million deficit and we ended up with a $1.5 million surplus. And the year before that, similar budget, we ended up with a $3.2 million surplus.
So,
It doesn't, for
I-
whatever reason, and I can't explain it, I'm not a
Service.
school administrator. That's the way that it is worked out.
are we leaving contractor, Howie?
Oh, that's right. We forgot.
Howie, is that in the mix or out of the mix?
I'm the one that said Howie through the end of the summer, so I'm going to stick with what I said.
No.
It's for the
I'm
move.
gonna say no, because it'll give me a $10,000 cushion.
So Howie's now reduced.
Tried, Howie.
Is there any else on the list that we need to go?
No.
Right, we just need to go around, I guess, with the tax scenarios, if there's anything different besides the 0 to 1 that Donna proposed.
I think 0 with a $1 million capital reserve transfer to
Back.
the general fund.
Do we have a,
So is that two different things you want voted on, or you're just saying a 0?
I'm saying, I think that with the 0, we should do a $1 million capital reserve transfer to the general fund to balance if needed.
Is that legal?
that would take full board action?
But not unanimous consent. It would be.
I think it
the board
takes
that-
7 of 9. I have to double check
Is
that.
that a roll call vote? or-
2/3, 2/3. I think it's 2/3.
We'll have Dave, we'll check with Dave.
But yeah, I do believe it is a 7.
So with that, let me ask you this question. If that is on the table, do we, in the future, is there a requirement in the future to pay back the general fund, that $1 million?
No.
It's
we're
all
giving,
district funds.
it's all district funds. We have
Okay.
2 buckets. We have a general fund
I
and we have
get
a
it, but I
capital
didn't know
reserve.
if there was like policies in regards to that or practices.
The implications, if we move money back, if there is a capital project that we need, those funds may or may not be available because they're now used to balance the budget. So if we do have a large capital need, that money would not be available to the district to use in that fashion.
Then if we do have a $1 million plus surplus this year, we can put that towards,
Is that the case?
whatever.
I'm sorry,
What she just said.
can you repeat? what you-
No, I mean, if we have an over $1 million surplus this year, we could use it to offset things, right?
That's up to the board to decide. I don't get to decide that. We as administration just recommend.
So do you have a change, or do you still want to do 0 and 1? Just do 0 and 1?
Well, I mean, what do we have in the general, excuse me, what do we have in the capital reserve right now?
6.2 or 3.
And a large portion that would be for facility.
Half of it's for the facility grant.
So what do we have unassigned in the capital reserve?
$3 million.
How much?
3 million.
Roughly, yes.
I would say 0 with 2 million from the capital reserve. Well, it'd still give you a million cushion.
We're just looking for options of what you would want.
We're not doing the 0 and 1, or,
I think everybody, just taking everybody's input and we'll.
okay, we'll just
narrow
0
it
and
down.
1. I'm not gonna repeat everything they said.
0 to 1. I mean, 0 and 1 million.
Oh, the 0 and the 1 million. So no 1%, just a 0 and a 1 million
Correct.
is the only scenario.
0 and 1%. Thank gosh.
Who's the majority if there's three different competing?
I didn't hear that.
There's three different competing, I guess, scenarios. I guess two is a majority.
What do we have on the table right now?
Right now, it's 0% with a $1 million transfer to capital projects between Stephen and Nick is. That's the proposal from them.
Okay,
Well,
and what was Jeannie's?
Jeannie was back to the 0, 1.
2 percentages, so I said 0% and 1%. Nobody's doing a 1%, nobody's doing two scenarios anymore. Is that what we're saying? I thought we were taking two scenarios to the board.
That was the recommendation.
That was a recommendation, but
I'm the only one that followed that.
but Donna said 0.
potentially
No, she said,
0 and 2 million, I believe. So that wiped out her 0 to 1.
I got the
Head
great
nod.
idea from you, Nick.
So I just need to see, Donna, are you in with the 0% with $1 million transfer instead?
No, I'm in with 0 with 2 million from capital reserve.
And 1% is the other option.
Oh, is there a 1% is the other option? That might be my misunderstanding.
that's because I followed directions.
I mean, you're in the proposal that you had, was there a
I only
1%?
I only put forward the one proposal.
Okay.
Zero.
I thought I
with
understood.
$1 million. It wasn't a 0 and then a separate one with 0 and 1 million.
That's why I thought I understood. Okay.
So what are our two scenarios that we're?
We have one scenario,
All right,
0% with a $1 million transfer out of capital projects back to general fund.
well, that's what we can recommend, but the board could come up with something different.
That is correct.
Or they kick it back to the finance committee.
I would recommend that we
Don't kick anything back to the finance.
you would have to then advertise for a separate meeting in June and another one in May for a budget.
Not knowing what the full board is going to do. Obviously, what I propose is what I want to do. Not knowing what the full board's going to do. Do we want to give them another
Scenario.
proposal so that we don't have to have a special meeting if it's voted down?
You want it to be Donna's scenario? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I don't think that here to there is going to be the difference. I think it's going to be the other way.
Oh, you think they're gonna want mine, 0 or 1%? You mean 1%?
I'm just saying some type of increase. And I mean, unless you guys don't want to do that, we had
Well, I don't
2
want,
years
I
ago-
don't want
2
another
years ago, we
meeting.
had a budget, but yeah. We were able to revote during the meeting.
I would say this proposed budget could be approved even under the scenario and then vetted out for June to have a final approval, because as Dr. Moyer said, it's just more or less a placeholder for regulation purposes. So I think.
We'd like to get it as close as possible.
Correct, but I think if there's not agreements, I think just a formality we could get through and then come back for June,
Right.
just so we didn't have a special session. I
Okay.
think that
Okay.
just has to be
Give
explained.
it, and then we'll do our June meeting.
Correct,
So we don't have to have another finance.
But this is our recommendation.
correct.
Okay,
That's agreeing and understandable. I'll present this and then explain it to the board that they can recommend a follow-up in June and any changes and give it to the committee to work through.
We're all good. Anybody else, anything else to say?
thank everybody for being here.
Have a motion on the floor.
So moved.